All right. So how did you join Paradigm? How did you get involved?
Yeah, so me, Zulfi, Sajad, there was a couple of other folks, Ali Asad Khan. We went to the same college. We were class fellows. Um, so we were doing a welcome party for the junior badge, and that's where Zulfi has had his band with Khurram Bhai, his original lineup for Call. You may be familiar with that as well. So they were just doing like a jam at the college, and I that's when I saw a real drum set in front of me getting played, and it was kind of like love at first sight. And I just was like, hey, this is what I'm going to do for the next 20 years. That's how I got involved with Zulfi. He taught me some of the initial lessons, and then I bought that drum kit. So we started playing even before Paradigm was formed. And then Fawad, so Sajad was 1 year junior. So me, Sajad, there was another guy, Asif, and Zulfi used to play in some of the college events. Actually, I sang in some of those college events while drumming as well. Then Fawad and Hassan joined. I think there were two batches junior to us. And then they reached out to us that, hey, we'd like to play together. That's how we got together, and we started playing in some of the college events. And then we decided let's make a band, because at that time, Ahmed Butt was involved in setting up some of these underground gigs. So Entity used to play there, Seth, some of these really hardcore bands used to play, and a couple of those events we attended, and we were like, man, this is so cool. So that's when we decided to make Paradigm. I remember Fawad came up with the name. Then we started doing those gigs, and it was pretty like a hobby kind of a thing, nothing serious. That's how we started, being that Paradigm thing. And then eventually Fawad and Ahmed were acting in this drama, Judd and Bonds. It's been so long, man, I don't hard to remember everything, but they were acting in that drama, and I think the director reached out to them to create like a OST for it. That's where we worked on Hame Azma, and that's where the idea came that, hey, Ahmed is part of Entity, and we have Paradigm. How about we get together? Same time, I think Pepsi Battle of the Band started happening. I mean, didn't start happening, but I think the notification went out in the newspaper, and Zulfi saw it. And Zulfi was like, hey, we made this great song. I think this would be super nice. So he himself made some submissions, including Hame Azma, and couple of old Paradigm songs. And I think some of the Entity songs, if I remember it correctly. That's how it all started. That was the trigger that got us together, and we decided to merge the band together and participate in that Battle of the Band as EP.
When you merged with Entity Paradigm, you had this really unique two drummer setup, and I spoke to Salman already, and he told me that you could never get that two drummer setup to work live or in the studios. Really, you had to really share that one drum kit. Can you tell me what it was like having to share that role, share that one drum kit, and what you were doing on stage when you weren't playing drums?
Yeah, yeah, that was initially, it was a little bit um, weird to like come to terms with. um, I think we underutilized the opportunity to have multiple drums getting played in the song as well as live. But like logistically, it's a nightmare to deal with, right? Where you have to go and play in different venues. You sometimes have to use that one broken kit that they provide, and it's very hard to like logistically manage. But initially, it was a little bit like, hey, how am I going to feel when my band is playing and I'm not on the stage? But eventually we had so many gigs to do that it was kind of like a blessing in disguise that I would get a break, and then I would go in full on with like full energy, and then Salman would come in. So it was like always like high energy performance. I think it worked out very well. Salman is a great person to be in the band with. He's super funny. So initially I did not have like a friends kind of a relationship before EP was got together. But yeah, I've had a great time with Salman generally, and Yeah, it was great in the end.
That's great to hear. Now, a lot of drummers I know and I work with, they are very specific about how they like their drum kit organized, how they like their drum setup. Did you or Salman, were you or Salman ever really particular with that? Did you have to spend time reorganizing, or were you able to share the setup?
Yeah, initially it was really hard. I remember I used to take my own pedal and I had my own shoes that I would use to play the kit, like back in the day when we were starting. But because there were so many gigs when we got done with Battle of the Bands, like we just couldn't take our kit and set it up. So we got used to it. It was hard initially, very hard. It's like going to a race and driving someone else's car. But eventually we got used to it.
Yeah, it's great to hear. Are there any live performances with EP that stand out to you as your most memorable?
Ah, there's so many. I think some of the gigs we did in Islamabad when we started playing there, because the Islamabad folks were so deprived of like action happening, like it used to be super boring to be in Islamabad. The crowd used to go crazy. So some of the very early gigs at Head Start and some of those venues in Islamabad, yeah, I still remember. Like I still have some glimpse and some recollection from those gigs. But Pepsi Battle of the Band itself, it was a great opportunity. That was also a memorable moment for us.
Yeah. So let's sort of transition to some of your more current projects. So, like Maheen just texted in chat, I've seen you had a couple ventures with Wacky Burgers and something called Monster Pool. I haven't been able to dig too much on those. So, can you tell me a little bit about them?
Yeah, Wacky Burgers was back in Pakistan, so it was kind of like an off-the-shelf burger chain. So burgers would get made up, packed, wrapped, and then get delivered to these canteens and cocas in different colleges and institutes. So started off with Lums, and it was a success. And that's when I started expanding to other. Like I used to work at Telenor Pakistan, and I would also go to the canteen guy, and we had that agreement there. So it was kind of like a proof of concept. I didn't expand it too much. I was still working, in my day job as a software engineer, as well as working with the band. So it was kind of difficult to manage the operation, but it was a good experience. I make good burgers. I still do. Every other weekend, I invite friends, and I make burgers. Monster Pool is something that I did recently, last couple of years. It's tech platform, a smart app that I built for Roscas or committee. So if you're familiar, I mean, you're from Pakistan, you'd know people and aunties. They do this committee model where they pool money and then everybody gets to take a turn. So it's kind of like an interest free way of consolidating and sharing money and resources within a trusted group. So that is what I did. Um, I launched it, still working on figuring out what is the next step for it. So yeah, it's still in the process.
So, what are some of the biggest differences that between the Lahore underground scene and the Bay Area just general scene? I'm sure there are plenty, but what are some of the ones that stand out to you?
There's so many bands here, man. I mean, and the skill level is really high. Like super skillful musicians are struggling. I mean, I'm lucky that I have a day job. I have a great day job, and then not everyone has that luxury. So people who are solely doing music, it's really a struggle for them. Back in the day, underground scene back in Lahore, it was up and coming. So there were definitely some great bands that I still miss, right? Like Mind Right, Farhad Maio, Rumpelfish, Seth, Blue Buzz, Shazad Hamid, and that other guy, I forgot his name, Entity. And like when I saw them for the first time, I was blown away. I was like, man, this is so cool. Um, but now it's very different. I think times have changed. There's so many distractions, like just on your phone. So the value that you used to get attending a live gig and seeing musicians play is not there anymore. So I see a lot of people struggling, and these are super, super skillful bands. They're super tight, and but they still are not able to make it big. So yeah, that would be one difference I would feel. Skill level definitely, uh, but I think both of the scenes have their own uniqueness, and because of the time, how when that was happening, there was nothing else we could do. Right, internet was not very prevalent. There were not a lot of smartphones, so going to a live gig used to be like the highlight of your week. But here, like every Wednesday or Thursday, just go to a bar and there's some great band playing, and you'd be like, "Hey, how come you're not making it big?" So there's some differences there, yeah.
All right. So Mahin also told me that you're very into cricket. Obviously, in the past and today. Can you tell? I believe you're part of a cricket league. Today, can you tell me a little bit about that cricket league?
Yeah. So I primarily table cricket, but I play hardball as well. I have my own club. It's called BBG. It stands for Band Bajega. And because my music background, as well as like the aggressive tagline that "Hey, Band Bajega," that is why the name was picked. We won the national championship last year, $50,000. Major League Table. It's one of the biggest events for table cricket in US. So we won that. We are in a semifinal for one of the local leagues here in Bay Area. We attended this big tournament in LA. We made it to the semis, and then we lost in the semis. So yeah, pretty competitive table ball stuff happening here in the US. Generally, US is getting very popular with cricket in general because of the upcoming World Cup that's going to be split between US and Caribbean. So there's a lot of focus on cricket. But yeah, my team primarily focused on tape ball. Yeah, I love playing. I've always been a sportsman. I've played tape ball and cricket in general and soccer. I used to be the soccer captain for Fast for a good 3 4 years. But yeah, that time I was crazy about soccer. Every week we would have soccer leagues to go to. Now I think it's shifted. Growing old, so cricket is a little bit more convenient and easy on your stamina and everything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, is cricket something that you'll see yourself doing for a lot longer? Is it something you see yourself doing for the next few years?
Yeah, not professionally, but yeah, it's like a leisure cricket type format, table ball, right? Every weekend people
Yeah.
get together. So, of course, it's a good pastime, and I enjoyed playing cricket. So,
Yeah.
definitely, I foresee myself doing that, not professionally, of course.
Yeah. So your kids, Mahin told me they're still pretty young. Have they shown any interest in music yet, specifically your music?
Yeah. My band comes over every Wednesday, Thursdays. So Wednesday I have another band, and then Thursdays is Rosehill. My daughter Zoe, she sits here. She loves to sing. And when I'm not practicing with my band, Zoe takes the mic and I take the drum, and then we have like a song in the background playing, and then she loves to jam. So yeah,
Yeah.
she's a natural, and um, Niall, who's now 9 or 10 months, he already understands, like if he picks up a drumstick, he knows that he has to bang it. So I think it's going to be a natural transition for them, and I'm going to welcome them and support them.
Yeah, that's adorable. So yeah, I'm sure they'll start their own bands and have make some their own great music uh when they're old enough to do it. Do you see yourself, I guess, sort of passing that torch down to that next generation?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely going to be a natural thing. I wouldn't enforce it, but if Zoe wants to be in a band, I would 100% support it. um, I would always encourage my kids to do focus on your day job, because you
Yeah,
can manage both ends. Just music generally is in the evening and over the weekend so you can easily manage, right? And because I see musicians struggling, I would always encourage my kids to at least um, keep their day job going, have a career, and then have this music on the side. And if becomes big enough, definitely make the transition. But yeah, I'm definitely going to support it.
From my own experience in the Boston scene, I'll see at concerts, local shows, I'll see, bigger, I guess, more adult bands playing on the same bill with more teenage bands, with younger bands. Uh, in your scene, do you ever see those teenagers, those kids playing, and are you, I guess, hopeful for their future in music?
Yeah, so back in the day, we didn't have like internet and like teachers to teach us. So we used to like download a 5 MB video of a drum instruction, and that would take you 30 minutes on your, on your modem. Now these kids are like next level. They have everything, every opportunity to learn about the instrument. So that's why you see like 6 years old kids playing Toxicity, System of a Down, and like totally killing it, right? Back in the day was very different. So these some of these kids are super super tight. The skill levels has gone really really far out. Um, so there's a lot of like School of Rock type setup here in the Bay Area. It's focused on the kids, and I see them playing a lot, like a lot of teenagers. um, I've seen live, not so much on the pub club scene because you have to be over a certain age to be there. But yeah, this next generation is absolutely going to kill it. I just feel bad that generally the industry is not the same how it used to be, right? Because you don't even have to be a musician today to create music. You can just click a button and it'll just create the beat for you. So because of that, I think real good musicians are struggling. And just generally, I think music has taken a backseat because there's so much more entertainment and distractions. So I just feel bad that way, that the skill level has gone really up, but the industry has transformed into something very, very different. But yeah, I'm hopeful it's going to work out well for them.
That's certainly very relatable. But we're running out of time for this interview, so I have one last question. From your time with EP, are there any, I guess, funny stories or anecdotes that you think your fans might be interested that they may not have heard yet, or any final thoughts you have?
So many funny stories. But I think my final thought would be one thing that I learned was that if you spend 15 minutes every day doing something that you like, within 1 year, you'll be better than 95% of the people who are trying to do that same thing. So if you want to do anything, all you need is consistency and practice, and it'll happen. It'll naturally happen. You just have to give it time. Even if you feel that you're not born with it, I think you can do it. And then time boxing yourself is another thing that really helped me do multiple things at the same time, and finding things that can complement each other in a way that they don't happen at the same time. Like I learned that music is usually in the evening and I can still work in the morning. That worked out very well for me, and I was able to pursue both these careers and enjoy both of these tracks. So yeah, there's a lot more that you can do, that you can think, that you think of, that that hey, you're limited. So yeah, just go get it, guys. Just do it. Yeah, anybody can do anything as long as there's persistency and you have the dedication to do it.